30 push-ups, that's good.
30, that was very
Inclines.
good.
Inclines are easy, right? Woo!
Good job.
Woo!
What are we doing over here?
We're just getting ready.
Getting ready?
just warming
Okay,
up.
we're in prep time.
All ready?
Yeah, man. Inclines are the hard ones.
Oh, those are hard.
Mhm.
We should do some of those. So my name is Dr. Peyman Racy, or AKA Dr. Peyray. I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee. Here's our practice, My New Smile. And I am excited to have this little interview with you guys. So Peyray was funny because ever since growing up, Peyman, my first name, it's two syllables. So the pay, like when I was little or when I was actually younger, it's funny because I used to follow Manchester United a lot, and David Beckham was playing there, and Payback was my name back then when I was like 10 years old, 11 years old in my little neighborhood community. So then Peyray became around the time where, I started singing. I had a little singing gig. And then that didn't really last long, as you can tell. I went by the name Peyray back then. And then I stuck with Peyray because I think that's one of the cool ones that I've had, the nickname Peyray. So I was born in Tehran, Iran, and I was about 11 years old when I first moved to the States. I always knew I wanted to be in America because growing up, like even before the age of 10, my uncle who had moved to America in the 70s was always in communication with my mother, who was in Iran at the time, and then they just kept communicating until we got our green card in '99. We used to go to school in middle school in Franklin, Tennessee. Pretty much Nashville has always been home for me from the time that we first moved in '99 until right now, 2021. So like I was saying, in terms of living in America and getting acquainted with the culture of how, and it's so beautiful because you could tell people when you're 15 you start working, and 16 you start having all these nice, I wouldn't say nice job, but they're good fast food restaurants, and I was wanting to do the same. So it's funny because I almost feel like I learned my English at Arby's, and I was working there full time, going through college, high school, and then after college I turned into, like, I was tired of working so much at Arby's, so then I switched to Little Ceasars.
Pizza.
And I worked there. It's funny because I started working at Arby's at $5.75. That was my pay per hour. And I always looked at number as it's not gonna define me, that number. It's like how much can I contribute to this company at that time. And that's how I looked at company. Arby's, like, this is me. If I'm going to put a shirt on that I'm representing this company, no matter how small or large or big they are, I like to be able to contribute to that. And so it's impressive because I actually became employee of the quarter multiple times by Arby's, because people were calling 1-800 numbers at Arby's and talking about their good experience that they had.
Do you think you're at an Arby's right now?
You know what? I wish I was at an Arby's, because there's better food and cooler people there.
I was working at the drive-thru, and it's you have to be very fast, not only verbally but also making sure things is just done right, because I was doing always the drive-thru, taking orders and also giving them food. So from that moment, or working in that type of environment, I started even loving America more, because it gave me some sort of not only a job but also an opportunity where I could make money, and I would save money, and I would give it to my mom to pay for our rent. So we were living in Murfreesboro at the time, and we were pretty much, and Franklin, and we had to pay, we were living in the apartments, Royal Oaks apartments in Franklin, and then Murfreesboro, Chelsea Place apartments. So making that money at Arby's and paying and helping my mom pay the rent, it was very fruitful. It was very nice. I never forget the times that me and my mom, she was working at Taco Bell at the time and I was working at Arby's. So we would come home, both of us so exhausted from just washing and cleaning the lobby and vacuuming and all that sort of things. And we would have our Arby's food and she would have Taco Bell, and so we would exchange them. And it's so funny now looking back of how things have changed. My mom's still here, living very close to my house. And when we talk about it, it's almost it's funny because it's not honestly that long ago. This is 2006, 2007. So yeah, about 14, 15, 16 years or so.
Who were some of your role models, influences?
So my influencers, I would say from the very, very first, going back to my family, I think my mom, my brother, and my sister, all three of them, as many of you guys may know or not, my dad passed at a very young age when I was 2 years old, and he was 46. So my brother was 12 at the time, my sister was 10, and I was 2 years old when my dad passed in Tehran. So my mom pretty much had to take over the whole family, and she was only 35 at the time. So she had lots of opportunities to be able to get back in another marriage or relationships, but instead she chose to spend her remaining of her life raising us, along with sending us through higher education and having more goals and drive and driving us to where we wanted to be good people for the society, either in Iran or when we moved to America. So those, my mom first, my brother, and then my sister, always the number one. Now, going away from the family, when I moved here, my uncle played a big role of kind of making us feel welcome in America and helping me up to now if I need anything. And yeah. When I was in Franklin, I went to Centennial High School. I graduated there and I chose to go to MTSU because not only was where I was living in Murfreesboro at the time, and it was close to school, the apartments that we used to live in, and also we were getting grants because I was having, we weren't making enough money. I was working full time and pretty much paying for the rent and we were living under a certain amount of money to where we could get grants, but also I was just applying for a scholarship. So MTSU was almost free, but also they were giving me money in order if I would be able to keep my 3.9 or 4.0 GPA, I could still make not only the money to pay the MTSU, but also getting money in order to be buying books or whatever I needed. So MTSU was pretty much a great option. And another thing about MTSU was really I was looking for opportunity to get my pre-doctorate degree or pre-dental degree or a college degree. I knew I wanted to be a dentist, but you cannot really go to dental school directly here. You have to apply for colleges, and so the sense of college for me was not really that big of a deal because I knew I'm not going to end up in the college. I need to go to dental school. So then after I finished undergraduate, MTSU, University of Tennessee, of course, being in Nashville was amazing because it's only 3 hours away. And I went to UT and I had a blast. It's one of the greatest schools in the country. Yeah, I learned a lot, and I think it helped me a lot to build a credit to be able to not only feel comfortable after graduation, to be able to do the things I did, but also be able to not have to pay as much tuition because it's an in-state school compared to out-of-state. I don't know how much that do with it, but it's pretty good to be in-state than out-state.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, dental school gives you enough credit and the diploma to be able to practice dentistry, but they don't really go over, they can't, you only have a few years there, and there's not enough time to go over all aspects of dentistry. So the good thing is when you get out of school, and especially seeing the opportunity where, oh my God, look at how many things are wrong with the way dentistry is being done, so many different practices, and again, we owe it to patients when they come to us, they trust us, so we have to be able to know so much more. And that was when I immediately, right out of school, I learned the importance of continuing education, or CE. So in a short way, it's a must. I think it's something that allows a lot of us to not only get to see what's out there, but also acquaint ourselves or be networking with a lot of people So like taking CE, getting to see other people, other dentists is an invaluable asset in order to be able to help you run your practice or be able to do the best thing for your patients. And Instagram started a Snapchat. I didn't even start on Instagram. I was in Snapchat back from dental school. And when I started working, there were so many cool cases that I was seeing in my practice, in the practice that I was joined, that I was like, man, I need to share this with some of my groups and my fellows to see what they do in this situation. So it started out as almost like a need of like, let's see, what would you do in this case? What would I do? Or what do I need to do? And it's things like that. And Snapchat grew, then Instagram came around, and what I did with Instagram, I pretty much posted the same thing I was doing on a Snapchat, but on Instagram. And then the Instagram kind of took off to where what it is now. And what the whole purpose of Instagram was to engage, to educate, and to learn. So I do have quite a group of people from all over the world really have come together, and the Instagram idea over the 2017-18, it grew to a point where I wanted to start an Instagram, almost a conference, something to where we can get all the doctors to combine and come into one night or 2 nights and enjoy being around, not only this time being in person, but also communicate and learn hands-on. So we have a conference that's called DIA, or Dental Influencers Alliance. It's been remarkable. We're doing this 3rd one in Atlanta this year in 2021, and very super excited to have this conference. When did we open the lab? We opened the lab in 2019, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. I think 19, right?
Yeah, the zircons on. And
Yeah. So 2019, I built the lab, zircons on. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding to be able to do your own cases, control your cases, and see how things look, and be able to manage and engineer and make the case go from the beginning to an end with a very great experience on patients' behalf, as well as being able to give that nice aesthetic color and texture on the teeth and make them look very real and natural for patients. So building the lab was an essential part of what I wanted to really dream on. When I first started working as a dentist, one thing that I couldn't really control was the lab part, or the teeth, how they end up being made. As dentists, you can do only so much. You're only really capturing the data. You're not doing 2 steps. You're not designing it, or you're not making it. The lab is designing it, the lab is making it. So the best thing to do is to be able to kind of handle all 3. But guess what? It's a lot of work to be able to do that. However, right now we're at the stage where we are our own designers. We have our manufacturing lab to where we produce all of these in the house. And it's a very rewarding experience having this type of privilege to be able to make the teeth in the house and make people happy by giving them something that you're actually hands-on working on it to make sure it comes perfectly from the oven, going to the mill, being designed on the computer, being captured. So all of that is important to be able to kind of handle and control to where you have a very predictable outcome. Before, I didn't have that predictable outcome a lot of times, and that was not really even my fault a lot of times. It was just I had done my part, but when I got the teeth back, the teeth were not really what I wanted, the patients wanted. We had a lot of back and forth going, and no matter how many good labs I've used, and I still use if I need to, anytime use a lab, I'll use it, but it's just a little bit rough because you don't really have a say-so in a lot of that part of designing and manufacturing with a lot of them. So it's best to have it in the house, but also you got to be ready for it because there's a lot of work that goes behind the responsibility of owning a lab.